This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. We're broadcasting from Denver, Colorado, actually just outside Denver in Littleton, Colorado. Gun control advocates are urging President Obama and Mitt Romney to address gun violence at tonight's debate in Denver. The debate takes place 10 miles from the site of the Columbine school shooting and 15 miles from the Aurora theater, where 12 people were gunned down this past July. The mass shooting at the Aurora movie theater was carried out by a former University of Colorado graduate student, James Holmes. Well, the University of Colorado is now at the center of a simmering gun debate. For the first time in 40 years, the university is allowing students with concealed carry weapon permits to keep guns at some off-campus housing. The decision was made in accordance with the state Supreme Court's ruling in March that found the university's gun ban violated a 2003 state law allowing concealed firearms. Boulder's online newspaper, the Daily Camera, spoke to students about their thoughts shortly after the state court ruling.
I don't think that we should let people just bring any kind of gun onto campus. I think that we should restrict that right to people who have completed concealed carry permit application processes, and ultimately that's going to keep us safer because criminals don't pay attention to no gun signs.
I believe that the constitutional rights are should be upheld for our citizens, and that being said, it does sort of concern me a little bit about the stability of everybody on a college campus, just because sometimes people are under a lot of stress or are not always sober, and stuff can happen. So I feel a little bit uneasy about it because it's not a personal choice of mine to own a gun, but I do realize it's a constitutional right, and I'm not going to deny one right over another one that I do believe in more.
And I highly disagree with the gun ruling on campus. I think that this is even though this is a state-run school, I don't think there should be guns allowed on campus. Look at Columbine, look at Virginia Tech. It doesn't really lead to good things.
Well, for more, we're joined by two guests. Noah Molotch is an assistant professor of geography at Colorado University-Boulder, and we're joined by Democratic State Representative Claire Levy. Her district includes the Boulder campus. She plans to introduce legislation that would overturn the state law requiring universities to allow concealed guns on campus. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! State Representative Levy, how did this happen? Explain the legislative process and why the University of Colorado is changing their law.
Well, yeah, thanks. So in 2003, the state legislature changed the law to preempt all local control over where a person can carry a concealed weapon. And there was some ambiguity about whether it included college campuses. University of Colorado challenged that law because they felt that they should have control over weapons on their campus. In March, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled that they were preempted, that they could not make their own rules, and therefore concealed weapons would be allowed on any public college university campus in Colorado. So my legislation would put that decision back in the hands of the people who are responsible for the safety of students and faculty on their campuses.
Why do you say that universities should be exempt from this state law?
Well, I think they're responsible for the safety of the students. They're responsible for the safety of college campuses. These are places of learning, and those who have those responsibilities should make the decision about whether to allow concealed weapons.
Noah Molotch, you teach at the University of Colorado Boulder. Talk about what's happening on campus, the concerns of the professors.
Yeah, I would say that overwhelmingly, 100% of the faculty, there could be a few that I haven't heard from, but overwhelmingly the faculty are against having firearms on campus, whether they be by concealed carry permit holders or carried illegally. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that we have judgments levied upon students and classes. We have a relatively high dropout rate, and so we do have students that go through some pretty unpleasant experiences sometimes in their during their 4 years at the university. They're also growing a lot as individuals, and so through that process, sometimes they go through some emotional stress, and having firearms injected into that environment, I think, is unhealthy. There's also a lot of dissenting views expressed on campus. We have all political spectrums represented on campus voicing their opinions on many different issues. And having firearms present in those kinds of discussions is also, I think, potentially volatile.
So your concern, your own personal concerns about, for example, grading students?
Yeah, I connect with my students, I think, on a pretty deep level, and not only during a lecture, but also when I pass out their graded exams. And in some cases, that failing grade that I might have to issue to a student as part of my duties as a professor could be that final failing grade that pushes them out of the university. And that has a potentially big impact on their life. And that's a potential for some irrational behavior. After all, they are just human beings. I wouldn't necessarily want a firearm in my own pocket throughout my daily experiences, and I wouldn't expect that most human beings should be trusted to behave appropriately with a firearm in their pocket under those kinds of circumstances.
You know, last night I was giving a talk at the Unity Church in Boulder, and someone was speaking to a woman who had come up to me and said, "Are you carrying?" And I thought, this is a very rude question to ask if she's pregnant. And then the person said, "No, I meant, are you carrying a weapon?" I'm not used to those kinds of questions, the whole idea of concealed weapons, you know, here in Colorado.
Well, I think that there are, Colorado is a very diverse state. It's in some ways a microcosm of the country. I've lived on the western slope of Colorado, which is politically very different from the metropolitan areas of Denver and Boulder. And we are a state university, and we have to respect the political views of the entire state, including the laws written in the state constitution, which is why we're in the situation we are now. But I think that even on both sides, there's a recognition that perhaps the classroom is a place where a firearm is not necessarily a good thing to have. And there's been ideas thrown out there like having gun lockers on campus so that people can carry their firearms and then lock them up. Those ideas haven't been floated by the administration, I should be clear about, but there isn't a good solution to this. We need to, I think the only good solution is to ban firearms from campus and just identify the campus as a special place, as like a courtroom or a K through 12 school. Why is the university any different from a K through 12 school? I really don't see the difference in terms of safety and the place of firearms.
I want to turn to an interview that Fox News did with Michael Guzman, a member of the national group Students for Concealed Carry on campus. He explained why he believes students with concealed handgun permits should be able to carry guns on campus.
The only thing we're advocating is that people that already have a concealed handgun license that already carry in their everyday life when they go to the bank, the grocery store, shopping mall, theaters, to go ahead and allow them to carry on campus. We don't feel that the campus is some magical environment when, as soon as they step foot on there, that they lose all sense of logic and reason.
State Legislator Levy, your response?
Well, I think it's really kind of absurd. I don't know a better word for it, to think that people should be walking around going to class with guns on their person. It's, you've come to college to get an education. It's a safe place. Statistically, it's one of the safest places you can be. And, there's a mentality that carrying a weapon should be an everyday occurrence, that it's, when you get ready to go to class, when you get ready to go to dinner, that you get, pick up your wallet, pick up your books, and get your gun. It's just absurd is the only word that comes to mind.
In August, the University of Colorado announced that students carrying guns would be allowed to keep weapons in a limited number of family housing units rather than campus dorms. This is how James Manley of the Mountain States Legal Foundation reacted to the news.
It's sort of the policy of separate but equal. If you want to exercise your Second Amendment rights, you have to live in a segregated dorm, essentially. it's probably going to be the safest dorm on campus. I know a lot of people who don't have concealed carry permits are asking how they can live in that dorm because they know it's not going to get robbed and criminals aren't going to target it.
Professor Noah Molotch?
Yeah, if I were, the family housing is housing for representatives of the university, students of the university who have families. And if I had a family as a student, I would be rather appalled the idea that everyone with a gun is going to be placed next door to me. And I don't agree that that would be the safest place necessarily to be. There are accidental deaths associated with firearms are, a considerable chunk of the deaths that occur due to firearms each year. And so I don't really see how having firearms within family housing is a good solution to the problem.
State Representative Claire Levy, this is legislation that you're talking about that you have not actually introduced yet, right?
That's correct. The legislature won't be in session until next January.
And how much support do you have for this? I mean, what's interesting is a number of the professors, for example, that are against the students' concealed weapons, carrying them on campus, are not opposed to, having guns, big supporters of the Second Amendment.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the debate will unfold. But what I really want to emphasize is that we don't really need to have a Second Amendment debate as part of this legislation. What we need to talk about is what is the right body to make the decision about whether to allow guns on campus. And I think the right body is the university itself and not the state legislature, because the situation right now is that the state legislature that sits in Denver, comprised of 165 reps and 35 senators, has decided for the whole state of Colorado what the policy should be. And what I want to focus on in my legislation is who should decide. And I think university administration, those governing bodies, should make those decisions.
Well, I want to thank you both for being with us. State Representative Claire Levy, a Democrat from Boulder, Colorado, and Noah Molotch, Assistant Professor of Geography at the University of Colorado, Boulder. And Professor Molotch, congratulations on the birth of your new baby, 4 days old today.
Thank you.
Thank you.